What's up, everyone? Welcome back for another week of the Final Points. This week we have the AT&T Byron Nelson. Got to kind of zone in and act like the PGA Championship isn't next week. But Matt, another event. Let's get after it.
Yeah, it was obviously a great week last week off that Homo win. Excited to shrug that off and get into next week. We have a pretty decent field this week, so it's gonna be fun. Better than I would have expected for the Byron Nelson, but it is a week leading up to the major. You know, the guys are gonna want to get out there, get tuned up, and get ready for this week's event.
Yeah, you never know what people's intentions are, but I always say if you're coming here, you're going to win. I mean, you're not just playing to get 2 rounds and go over to the PGA Championship. I don't think that's a whole lot of people's intentions. It can go through some people's minds to kind of talk themselves into fading the top elite guys or whatnot. But if you're here teeing it up, I think you're here for a reason. So should be interesting. Course this week, TPC Craig Ranch. We got to see this last year where KH Lee won 25 under par. I'm not sure if it'll play exactly that way, but I still think we get a pretty low score as the winner here.
Yeah, I mean, we saw KH Lee outduel Sam Burns and Charles Schwartzel, a few other guys. Daniel Berger was over there. Yeah, I don't think it'll play that deep this year. It was very wet last year. It was a hit your number and stick the ball on the green to that number. I don't see that happening this year. We saw 2 Corn Ferry Tour events here. Then it was called a nationwide tour.
Yeah.
Finish at -16 and -17 or something like around those 2 numbers. So yeah, I mean, it's still going to be a birdie fest. Still going to be a lot of like low scoring, but I just don't think we'll get towards -25. But it's just picking hairs. It's still going to be a lot of birdies. It's a pretty bland course. I wouldn't really get too overwhelmed with the course narrative. It's just who can make a ton of putts, who can make a ton of birdies.
Exactly. And one thing that I saw, and everyone's talking about it this week, but looking at like the top of the leaderboard, you can struggle around the green here and still be fine as long as you're saving par or whatnot. I mean, as long as you don't get into a whole lot of trouble, there's not going to be a whole lot of greens missed exactly. And there's not going to be a whole lot of fairways missed. Even if there are, you don't get into a whole lot of trouble. So obviously driving distance, again, you can look at it. Didn't matter that much last year. Like there was some shorter hitters towards the top. It's definitely going to help. Like I wouldn't be shocked to see it sway the other way where a bunch of heavy hitters off the tee make their way towards the top of the leaderboard. But like I said, last year didn't really prove to be all that important. I'm looking at proximity from 200 plus yet again. Obviously, a course that's playing just shy of 7,500 yards. We're going to see a lot of those approach shots, especially on the par threes. And then these shots are going to be huge in terms of getting eagles on some of these par fives. All 4 par fives had an eagle rate above like 2%. There were 13 golfers last year who had at least 2 eagles. So they're out there and they're going to be huge.
Yeah, it's huge for scoring for sure. If you can look at guys who, especially I would lean this more in like the lower 6K range. Find guys who have a decent eagle rate, decent scoring, because you're only going to get so much from a 6 or 7K guy. If you can have those extra few points, that's going to really boost you up the DraftKings pool. So I think that's pretty important. I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it. But yeah, for DraftKings wise, scoring wise, maybe check out eagle rate. I didn't even look at that, but I definitely will to maybe narrow down a few guys.
I threw eagle rate in right away. I didn't weigh it a ton because it's difficult to kind of weigh eagles in because there's so many different situations. Like a hole in one is going to count for some guys and whatnot, which wouldn't really matter when it comes to bombing your second shot on a par 5. But another thing that I like looking at when it comes to this is going for the green in 2, because you could see guys who say it might be a longer hitter, but they also might lay up heading into a par 5 on their second shot if they don't really trust their long iron or whatever club is in their bag at that range. But seeing guys who go for it consistently, even if they're not great in terms of going for it, if they're giving themselves an opportunity on greens that aren't too hard to hit, I like that as well.
Don't worry. I don't think Zach Johnson's in this field, so we're not going to have to worry about laying up on par 5s that you could easily reach.
Yeah.
But yeah, but besides that, I think we've covered all the core stuff. It's not, you can't get too deep into it. Maybe, you said driving distance could matter, even though it didn't matter last year, but we're at a course somewhat similar to what we saw at the Mexico Open, and it was all bombers at the top. So maybe that trend continues. I mean, driving distance isn't going to hurt you by any means. So I definitely, if you want to go that route, there's only so many routes you can take this week. It's very dry and bland, like I keep saying. So, yeah, if you want to pick a route and go with it, maybe that off the tee driving distance route could be huge this week. I didn't hammer it. I just built a more of a complete model and more of a complete game. But yeah, I definitely like what you're saying there. And I feel like that covers the core stuff.
All right, let's get into the 10K range. Just 4 guys up here this week. So a little bit smaller than normal. Scotty Scheffler leads the way at 10.9. Justin Thomas, 10.6. DJ, 10.2. Jordan Spieth, 10.1. So obviously with 4 guys, you don't see the price distribution like we normally do where it's like 200 per. Like the drop off is 300 from Scheffler to JT, and then 4 from DJ to JT, and then 100 from Spieth. So usually you'll see like a guy at 10K flat. A little bit different look this week. Clearly, I think the 4 elite players in the field. Obviously, you can make a case for some of the guys at the top of the 9s, but how are you approaching the 10K range this week? Because I'm still kind of sorting through all of this.
I was thinking again to go with a full fade of this top range, not because I didn't like them, just because I wanted to go with a more balanced build. But then as my research and thoughts got deeper, I went about 85% Justin Thomas. And
Okay.
it might be semi-biased. I really do like Justin Thomas, but I mean, the stats are the stats. You know how awesome he's been recently. He has, I think, like 8 top 10 finishes in his last like 16 events, something stupid like that. I think the motivation is so there. He's arguably has the best season of any golfer on the PGA Tour without a win. So I think the motivation is there. He's very hungry to win. He hasn't won since the Players. I didn't get to him in the betting market, which might be another sign because you know how often I bet Justin Thomas for me to just play him so heavy in DraftKings. But yeah, that's where I went in this range. I just feel like we and people are saying, I've seen a lot on Twitter, Justin Thomas can't make enough putts. He's won 3 of his 8 PGA Tour wins. I think it's 8. Came minus 20 or lower. Like he can fill it up if he gets going. There's no stopping Justin Thomas. You know how he gets. It just we haven't seen it, but it's just gonna happen sooner or later. I didn't bet it, but I went very heavy with him in DraftKings.
I'm with you. When it comes to the top, JT has rated out better than just about everyone up here. Just about anything I look at as well. The only other guy that I think I could see myself getting to is Spieth. The discount's pretty nice. Obviously playing really well. I like Jordan Spieth this week at 10-1, but like you said, this is a spot where I think if you wanted to, you could do a full fade, especially being only 4 guys. I mean, you could go 2 guys in the upper 9s and still be able to fill out a pretty decent 6 golfers. That's for sure. Given some of the guys in the upper 7s and mid 7s, you wouldn't even have to get into the 6K if you start your lineups in the 9K. And I think you'd have a pretty solid 6 from top to bottom. But given like KH Lee winning last year, there's going to be some of these lower guys who are trying to get a bid for the PGA Championship who could potentially win this week. I mean, it's not out of the question.
Yeah. We saw KH Lee go, and like it's what we normally see at events minus 20 or below. It's some random guy win it, some 200 to 1 bomb can definitely 100% win here. No one would be surprised. But yeah, I'm surprised I only went with one other guy in this range as one of my pivots. And I went in my 20 lineups. I did 17 of them, Justin Thomas, and one of them I went with Jordan Spieth. We saw what he could do here last year. He was the first round leader. And what he's doing with his irons right now is very, very intriguing, and it's exciting because we know when Jordan Spieth figures his irons out, he's arguably one of the better players in the world because we know how dangerous the putter is, but he's lost on the greens in 7 straight events, which is the longest in his career. So, I mean, we know that's going to turn around, but it's not warranting me to go 100% Jordan Spieth or even bet him because we know you're going to have to get low here. And if he lost 3 strokes putting or something like that at the RBC and won, if he would have been a 0 on the greens, he wins that event by 4.
Oh yeah.
So, like if he could figure it out, and we know this is a Texas event, this is where he's had very success, he could easily figure out these greens. And if that approach is hot, look out for Jordan Spieth winning in back-to-back starts. But I went with him in one lineup just because I do think the course fit makes sense, and he was just one of my key pivots. I've been fading Scotty enough, and he's been burning me. I just can't I can't keep. I
I
can't
don't know
keep
if I
going. I just
could
got to keep going.
justify 10-9 given what I like in the 9K range as well.
100%. That made it easier for me.
Which, like I said, it's not a bad thing to get into the 6K range this week, but at the same time, you're really limiting yourself if you go to Scotty. I would rather take the extra $300 and boost, say, my last guy in than go up and get Scotty because, I mean, I think JT should be priced pretty dead, even if not above Scotty. I mean, you can't make the case against Scotty Scheffler. We've been burned by it before, but at the same time, Thomas rates out better for me given this certain course, and you're getting $300 discount.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like if Scotty keeps burning us, like I said at the last event he's played, like good for Scotty, and like he's have the greatest stretch in golf in PGA history. Like just do that, and I'll witness it, and I'll lose some money, but prove that to me. I can't just jump on ship now, especially at that price point. I'll go and I'll eat my. I'll regret JT after 3 holes on Thursday if he's +1, which he probably will be. But then he'll go scorched earth on Friday and backdoor top 5. Yep. That's what will happen, and that'd be awesome. So that'd be awesome. I love JT in this range. I mean, I don't love him, but that's where I went in this range. Like it wasn't enough for me to bet at 50.
I think it's a good spot to start when you're talking DFS. Dustin Johnson's going to come in as more than likely the least owned guy in this range. I don't hate it by any means. I think this course actually sets up fairly nicely for him. 10-2 is a spot where you can get to, so I will sprinkle a little bit of DJ this week. I just don't know how much I'm going to have him because, I mean, if I had to rank these 4 in order, it's Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, DJ Scheffler, based off of price and the way that they rated out for me.
I actually think I'm going to, now that like we're talking and like this is what we do this for, I think I'm going to add, like, because I started one lineup with another 9K guy and I have 1,400 salary left on the table. I think I'm just going to add Dustin Johnson, start that lineup with Dustin Johnson as one of the pivots because we saw him, and I said this a few weeks ago, before he won his Masters. I mean, I know he was a kind of a different golfer then, but he had no reason to compete at the Houston Open. I think it was 2 years ago when he almost chased down Carlos Ortiz, finished like 2nd or 3rd place when he hadn't played in a few weeks. And this course makes sense. Just bombs away, make birdies. So I think I might get there in one lineup with Dustin Johnson just to fill that void. And I have salary left on the table. Why not throw in Dustin Johnson? I'm going to make that change right now.
Yeah. Like I said, there's a wide open course where you can bomb it off the tee. He's pretty good on the long approaches, ranks 8th in the field this season on approaches from 200 plus. Obviously, we haven't seen peak DJ in a little while, but at the same time, he can pop at any moment. He seems like a guy who, I'd have to look it up, but he seems like a guy who usually plays the week before majors. So this isn't really too crazy for him, but yeah, that's how I'm going about the 10K range. Really, I'm going to have exposure to 3 guys. I believe that I will. So it just depends how much I want to distribute my ownership.
Yeah. So I think that sums up this 10K range.
Yeah.
4 guys. We're both on Justin Thomas pretty heavy. And I think, Justin Thomas is my guy in this range. He's going to be highly owned probably for a reason. I'm seeing him coming in about 22 to 23%.
Okay.
Checks out for sure. But like I said, I'm playing him really heavy. I'll be way overexposed to Justin Thomas. And I think that's the right move in this range.
All right. 4 guys in the 10K range. Let's move on to the 9s. Leading the way in the 9K range, Hideki Matsuyama, followed by Xander Schauffele, Sam Burns, Will Zalatoris, and then rounding out this range, Joaquin Niemann and Tommy Fleetwood. So I know you're on Burns.
On Burns.
We'll get to that, but I'm on the guy right above him. I talked myself into Xander a little bit this week. Not a guy that I always play by any means. I think, I don't know what they were really doing, but they probably could have made him 10K flat.
Easily.
Just to get the 5th guy in there. Obviously, we don't set the pricing, but I kind of looked at Xander's last few years and if he's playing before majors. Since the start of 2020, he's played before a major 2 times. His results were 2020, he finished T6 at the WGC St. Jude. That was the week prior to the PGA Championship. So different event, but a week before PGA again. And then 2021, last year before the Open Championship, he was one of the guys who did play in the Scottish, traveled over there, finished T10. So back-to-back top 10 finishes in the only 2 times that he's played the week before. So if you're worried about intentions at all, I think Xander is here to win. Obviously, he can win the Olympics. He can win the Zurich. Still looking for a big solo PGA Tour event win, and coming here with intentions to do so is worth a look for me. And I think $9,700 is a great price, because I could make the case for him, like I said, at 10K or even in the low 10s, just based off of the type of player he is. I mean, he entered the year as the 4th ranked golfer in the world, and now he's just outside the top 10. So it's like you're getting him as the 6th guy in on DraftKings. Top 30 on the PGA Tour this season in driving distance, averaging just over 307 yards off the tee. So I think Xander sets up pretty nice here. It's really good on long approach range from both buckets, 200 plus, and then I kind of looked at like 225 to 225 and longer. So I like Xander a lot, especially given the price tag.
Yeah, it's about time we're getting Xander at a fair price. 9.7K, sub 15% own. I'm seeing. That is leverage for a golfer with obviously great upside, and like maybe not top 3 ceiling, but like top 10 ceiling with a top 20 floor, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like really high ceiling and really high floor. I think he like makes sense, especially at that ownership. And I don't have any Xander liability. He modeled out 4th for me, and he never really models out, but you're kind of selling me on Xander, because at one of his only PGA Tour wins was at Kapalua, longer course, big greens, birdie fest, similar to this. And I bet him at Kapalua this past season. Might as well run him back out here. And we'll get to a guy down lower that I put as one of my pivots, but I said I wanted to fully fade him, and I think I'm gonna as in Will Zalatoris. I think I want to fully fade him, even though I put him in as just a 1 pivot in 1 lineup. I think I want to sub that out for Xander Schauffele. It's the second guy you've sold me on in as many ranges. So
yeah, it was really the long approaches for me. I was kind of looking, like I said, 200 to 225, and then 225 to 250. But we're going to see a lot of approaches from both of these ranges, even if you want to go down to 175 to 200. I mean, there weren't a lot of guys, surprisingly, that rated out well from 200 to 225, and then also rated out well in 225 to 250 for whatever reason. Yeah. That extra added distance, and he was one of the 5 guys on my short list who rated out near the top for both.
Yeah, I said that I was fully fading Zalatoris, but I just love him so much. I put him in there as a pivot, but I got to go with my word. I'm taking Zalatoris out. I'm putting Xander in. I think that upside is there, and a sub 15% Zalatoris versus a damn near 30%. I mean, a sub 15% X versus a damn near 30% Zalatoris.
Yeah,
I'll take my chances right there
all day. I don't know how his ownership's not higher.
Right. I mean, it's just because everyone wants Zalatoris. Everyone wants Sam Burns, like the Dallas thing. Like I get it, but it just people don't like Xander Schauffele anymore after they've been burned by him the last 2 seasons.
So, with that being said, if Xander's your first guy in a lineup, you can pair him with Sam Burns really easily. So sell me on Sam Burns.
And that actually is how that lineup goes. It does go Xander Burns.
I like that.
Not really hard here. And what was drawn to me at first was I looked at the odds. I looked at the top of the betting board, and we got a really bettable number on Sam Burns at 22-1 in a good field, but not like a will make you turn your head field. And these are Sam Burns conditions. I wrote up this week how these are the events where Sam Burns makes his hay. He hasn't really proven it in difficult conditions, crazy -8, -10 majors. This is where he makes his hay in -20 events, Birdie Fest. He almost won this event last year. I didn't have to overthink it. He's a above average, not amazing iron player. He's an elite putter. He struggles a little bit with the driver accuracy. Fine. We don't need that here. Yeah, we don't need that here. It drives the ball long, and he makes a ton of birdies, and he proved he can score at this course. So I bet the number 22-1 when it came out. started my betting card there, and he was my. I also paired him with JT as in my core 6 this week. So started with JT, Sam Burns, and I think I like the rest of it as well. So Sam Burns, I think, is awesome here. I think he should top 10 with ease. He's here to win. These are the events that Sam Burns lives for.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Obviously, the price point's there. The approach is a little worrisome for me. I don't know. It's not much to look at. Obviously, you're looking at the Masters where he missed and whatnot. But given my exposure to Xander, I don't know how much I'll have. But I think I'm going to have to hop on one with you where Xander and Burns are the first two in, because I think you have a lot of leverage when it comes to that, especially given that we're going to be fading Will Zalatoris on that certain lineup too.
So there's your Sam Burns thoughts. What do you like about Will Zalatoris? Are you fading him? Are you playing him?
I'm fading. Fading Will. I don't have a great
rare
reason.
For two people on one show to fade Will Zalatoris. That's pretty rare, I would think, because he is all over the board this week. I've seen on Twitter.
Yeah, he's going to be popular. I think he's priced fairly. Rates out well. I can't really talk you out of him, but just given some of the ownership leverage that you can get with a guy like Xander Schauffele. I mean, what's really interesting about Zalatoris, obviously, is those long approaches. You like getting him at a place like this. It's been great this season. He's been great over the past few events, but I would rather just get a little bit different and get to Xander and get to like a DJ who's going to be 10 to 12% than play a chalky Will Zalatoris.
Can Will Zalatoris make 25 birdies in a 4-day stretch? Do you think so?
I don't
think so. You look back to his PGA Tour career, you look back to his Korn Ferry Tour career, you look back to his college career. He's never gotten to minus 20. Not once.
Really?
So, nope. Can he? For sure. He's gotten to minus 19 at the Amex, and that's the highest he's gotten to. I've been saying this forever. As I love Will Zalatoris. I bet him at the Masters last year when he finished second. I love him. I love everything about his game. Difficult conditions. I bet him next week at the PGA Championship all day. But yeah, he'll perform awesome here. He'll finish T20. He'll finish minus 14, minus 15. If he gets to minus 20 and wins this event, I'll be happy. I want him to win. Yeah, but he's never done it. So why in an event that I think is going to be a major birdie fest, why am I going to bet someone or play someone who's literally never done it?
Right.
Like it's not critical thinking. It's just like, okay, like I'm not doing this. And especially at 30% owned.
We have a good idea of how the course is going to play. It's clearly going to be exactly there. Like we know this. Even Matsuyama, I think, is a good leverage spot. I don't love playing him, especially at $9,900. But looking over the past 24 rounds, he's top 5 in the field in the proximity from over 200, top 5 in birdie or better, ball striking approach. Hideki Matsuyama rates out just as good as the next guy. And I mean, when you get a place where you want a guy with strong long irons, Matsuyama fits that bill. So yeah, I could probably talk myself into a little bit of Matsuyama too, in terms of like if I'm fading Zalatoris. So
yeah, Decky should come in sub 15% too. And as people still might thinking about that injury, even though he showed he was okay at the Masters. I remember I bet him at this event last year. He finished T39, was kind of average across the board. Didn't seem like the motivation was there, but definitely leverage. And obviously there's high upside for Hideki Matsuyama. He has 2 wins already this season and some other great finishes. Yeah, I just won't be able to get there with Hideki, but leverage for sure, obviously upside.
And then one other guy I'll touch on that I'm not on DraftKings, Tommy Fleetwood. I wrote him up in my FanDuel piece just because the price discrepancy was so large. He's the 11th highest priced golfer on DraftKings. Well, not with Koepka anymore, and he was 22nd highest on FanDuel. So anyone that plays FanDuel out there, it was a massive drop-off. Usually you don't see these two sites differ this much, but when you get a discount like that, I mean, I like Fleetwood enough. I just don't like him enough to play him at $9K, which is why he's probably going to be around 5 to 10% right in that little range there.
Yeah, I was talking with my friend Andy Lack earlier in this week, and told him about that I had an early lean on Fleetwood, and I put a throw up emoji next to it, and he was like, "Why Fleetwood?" And I honestly said, "I have no idea. I just have this feeling like Fleetwood." But then looking at his numbers, his ball striking is just blah. Like it's either like it's either okay or nothing. It's gaining a little bit with the driver, getting a little bit with the irons, and rarely both. And it's the short game and putting is all like amazing. But like that makes me think, if I know it's unsustainable, but if you're riding a hot putter, and you're gonna have to make a million putts this week, by no means is that safe. By no means am I playing him heavy. I put him in one or two lineups as a pivot, and just because I had the gut feeling, yeah. But besides that, it's nothing too exciting.
Yeah.
I was more of a gut feeling, ride a hot putter, because I mean the ball striking hasn't been there like off the tee and stuff, but we're at such a course with easy greens, easy fairways. You're hitting. He's gonna hit these greens. And then maybe he rides that hot putter, rolls in a bunch of 30-footers. Like
we've
we'll
seen
see.
before.
Yeah, we've seen before. Like I wouldn't bank on it. I didn't put him in my core six. I don't think it's a safe play, but especially some leverage, some upside. I had the thought, threw him in the lineup.
Fair enough. 8K range.
What's your Joaquin Niemann thoughts?
Fade.
Okay.
No good reason.
I bet him 35-1. Yeah, upside only. I didn't put him in my core. I feel like I bet the number more, honestly, 35-1. He's a proven winner. He proves to make a ton of birdies. Great with his long irons.
Yeah.
Didn't overthink it. I saw the 35. Was like, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, it's a good number. And my thought process really is that I'm going to have one of the big three that we talked about in the 10K move down to Xander and move on with my day. That's just kind of how my builds are going to go. And I don't think I'm going to play a whole lot this week, just given the PGA next week and whatnot. But that's probably the way most of my builds are going to be going this week. So that's the only thing on like Niemann, Fleetwood, some of these guys in this range.
Yeah, I couldn't get there heavy with Niemann. They obviously didn't make the core, but I sprinkled him in a lineup or so, and I bet him at 35-1. I'm ready for the 8K range.
8K. All right. Leading the way, Adam Scott at 8.7K. Another weird range. Like there's no one from 8.9 to 8.8, which we normally see every week.
Yeah, very weird.
Either way, Taylor Gooch follows Scott, Johnny Vegas, 8.4. Kokrak, 8.3, Jason Day, Aaron Wise, Adam Hadwin, and Cameron Champ. So an interesting range. I think there's a lot of leverage in this range. You're going to have to hit here because one or two of these guys are going to probably make their way into the top 5, top 10.
Will DraftKings ever price Taylor Gooch correctly?
No, I don't think they even know who he is.
I mean, or any other site, because Monday afternoon, Bet365 had him at 75-1. That was, and
what did
I thought about
at?
35, 40. Like, it was like, I thought about it on Monday, like pre-research or anything. I was like, oh yeah, Gooch makes sense this week. Birdie Fest. Yeah, I like Gooch. Leading up to Oklahoma, he's going to want to be in great form. Saw the 75-1. Shout out Outright King. Pointed out to me that was a no-brainer bet. 75-1, like easy. And I was gonna be heavy on him in DFS. 8.6K. He's in the core. I feel like his upside is so high, and his safety, and he's also very safe to get through the cut with a high finish.
Yeah, Gooch is another one of the guys on my list that rated out really well on approach from those longer buckets. I think he rates out just about everywhere I look. More long-term than short, obviously, but we're not looking at a whole lot this season. Number 1 in the field in eagles gained, 4th on par 5 scoring, and then he's top 10 in both birdie or better and strokes gained approach. So easy. Gooch at 8,600 is a great play.
Yeah, and if he has one weakness in his game, it's driving accuracy. Okay. Checks every box. If I could build a golf course for Taylor Gooch, it might be this one. Maybe a little bit small, maybe a little bit smaller greens, but I think this is a great fit for Taylor Gooch. And like the number was stupid. I penciled him in. He was in my core 6 and my favorite play in this 8K range.
I think my favorite might be the guy right next to him, Johnny Vegas.
Johnny Vegas.
And I get he's going to be popular, but I just
Yeah.
can't get away from seeing his name pop up. Looking at last week at the Wells Fargo, finished in a tie for 15th, led the field in strokes gained approach, something that you like seeing. I mean, he struggled off the tee, whatever. We know that he's strong off the tee. We know that he's strong when it comes to driving distance, whatnot. When the scoring gets easier, Johnny Vegas tends to pop a little bit more. I kind of ran my model when scoring is easier relative to par. 6th over the past year, 15th over the past 2 years, and then like longer courses as well. I mean, Johnny Vegas just kind of fits what he does. He's another guy who popped up for me when the approach shots got a little bit longer. So I like Vegas at $8,400. I think I'm going to have a decent amount of him. Outside of that, I'm probably dropping down to Aaron Wise again. I can't get away from him, and I'm not going to miss.
He's in great form. Was that the Mexico Championship? He was in the mix for a little bit.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, similar style course where Aaron Wise makes sense. Obviously, the only thing holding him back is the putter, but he can have a great putting week. If he finds that putter from the fall, he can really contend. Here. But I love Aaron Wise. He couldn't fit my lineup or core. I might have sprinkled him as a pivot, but besides that, he didn't. But yeah, I'm gonna back off your Johnny Vegas thing. It was between him or Gooch who was gonna be my core, like in my core 6 in this 8K range. Ended up going with Vegas, but ended up going with Gooch, but it was a very narrow margin. Jonathan Vegas had the best approach week of his career last week and the worst off the tee week of his career. But that is so encouraging because we know how good of a driver he is. He's not going to lose 5 strokes off the tee again. And he did that with driving accuracy. It was why he lost so many strokes.
Exactly.
Come to a course here, you don't have to have driving accuracy. You're going to bomb it. And then if he found something with his irons, and we know we're going to roll a ton of putts. Johnny Vegas was awesome. That's why I bet him at 55-1 this week. And I mean, I really love him for my core. I just couldn't pair him with Gooch and other guys. But if I had to pick another guy, Vegas would be my guy in this range. Absolutely love him. He's popular for a reason. If you're going to play him, go very overweight because he's going to be popular.
And the stat I talked about at the beginning, going for the green and 2, which obviously you're going to be doing a lot. Ranks 7th on tour this season.
And he'll make his eagles.
He's aggressive.
He will make his eagles.
He will. So I like Vegas a lot. I've always said every week, seeing a guy who leads an approach and doesn't finish inside the top 10 or top 5, I mean, that speaks volumes. Like that says a lot, especially at a course like this week where it's going to be a birdie fest and you're going to have to put it close and roll some putts in. Like we know the way that it's going to play. So seeing him with hot irons, I mean, I don't really care that he struggled at the off the tee, but at the same time, it's Vegas and Wise for me in this range, and then Taylor Gooch as well. I think I will get to Adam Scott a little bit. I mean,
Adam Scott is going under the radar. It kind of makes sense. What's your sentiment on Cam Champ going to a similar course as Mexico? Form's kind of maybe coming back. Watching the broadcast for the Mexico Championship, he looked very, very, very upset and frustrated as soon as he got out of contention. Like he seems hungry. The approach numbers are what they are. He's never going to let it up with approach. He lost almost 2 strokes on approach at the Mexico Championship and almost won. We know the off the tee is going to crush. I don't know how much that will set him apart from the field. And I don't know. It's just more of a similar course. But is his ownership? Ownership? No, I mean sub 10% Cam Champ.
Yeah,
I don't hate that.
It's more of a price thing for me. I mean, even though his results have been good, T6 at Mexico lost 1.5 on approach. T10 at the Masters. I'd have to look up the approach there, and then
3.4.
I mean,
plus 3.4.
Plus 3.4 on approach. Okay. Outside of that
was the only week.
Horrible.
But that's what he is. He's never gonna light up approach. He's driver and hopefully make a bunch of putts. And that's not an ideal build. That's what Rory McIlroy did to win the CJ whatever it was in
Yeah.
Vegas. That's what he did. But that's not like, I'm not saying he's Rory McIlroy, but that's just like not. He's never gonna let it up on approach. I wouldn't go heavy with him. We know like how quickly it can go south for Cam Champ, but I just feel like a little bit of a narrative thing. He seemed pretty hungry, and he's gonna have shorter clubs into these greens as anyone else. So I don't know. I went with him in one lineup because of the ownership was like 8 to 10%. Did not make the core as it went heavy gooch, but yeah.
For me last year, I'm just so used to playing Champ at like $6,600
right. Yeah.
every week, and I'd never
Yeah.
let up. That's the kind of guy he is. It's weird seeing him back in the 8K, back in the 9K, where he was like. I would love to see like a graph of Cam Champ's DraftKings pricing over the course of his PGA Tour career.
Yeah, I'm a noted Cam Champ hater too, but like I just I don't know. I kind of feel like it could happen this week. But are you sold on this 20% Adam Hadwin?
Not
Like why?
here.
Like yeah, like I don't get it.
No, not
Like,
here at all. I mean, he's gonna rate out well in terms of some stuff, but it's like
what? Like
shorter
putting?
courses.
Yeah, like he's so popular. He was so popularly like tipped. He was so popular. Like he's over 20%. I think he has a good finish here that last year, which is what it was. I think it's just form and course history. Let me look real quick. Adam Hadwin. He is coming off of a 26th RBC, 4th at the Valero, 7th at the Valspar, and then he didn't play here last year. Like it's just good form, but that course, I don't feel like the course fit makes no sense. I don't get the 20%, whatever. Yeah, that's all I need to care about in the 8K range.
You can get the same type of golfers in the 7K range that you can get for Adam Hadwin at 8. So I would much rather pass on him.
For sure.
All right, 7Ks.
All right, 7Ks.
Let's get into it. So towards the top, I'm having a lot of trouble because the first 3 guys in, I actually like quite a bit. Alex Noren at 79, Maverick McNeely, and Mark Leishman at 78. So Noren pop for me in terms of easy courses. We've seen him play well at some of these easier courses. He's not in the worst of form. I think this is a really good spot for him. I think it's a really good price for Alex Noren. McNeely always pops for me. This seems like a place where he should set up pretty well, but Mark Leishman is probably going to be the guy that I get to the most. Looking at ownership, it's looking like Leishman is going to be the least owned of the bunch. So given the fact that I like him a little bit more than the 2, might work out in my favor anyways, since he's going to be probably just under 10%. But looking at Leishman, things I liked about him, miscut at the Wells Fargo last week, but in terms of guys who missed the cut, he had the second most strokes gained on approach.
He did not want to be there on Friday when it was pouring. I was watching PGA Tour live. I was there actually, and he was like, "Get me out of this weather." And after he like made one bad hole, I love Leishman as well, by the way, but I would not discount that miscut for sure.
Yeah, it's just seeing that the approach game was up there. I think it was still top 20 in the field in terms of everyone. So even the guys who made cuts and played a full 4 rounds. But T21 here at TPC Craig Ranch last year, I think the ownership is interesting in itself. So getting to Leishman this week at $7,800 is a pretty good price. He's top 20 in the field and birdies are better. Strokes gained approach and can get hot with the putter. Everyone knows this.
Yeah, I had to make my decision here for my core lineup. 2 sub 10% guy. It was between Mark Leishman and Seamus Power. I went with Seamus Power.
Yeah,
I went with Seamus Power, and the form was a question. And I looked at the form and I was like, all right, he's missing the cut at the API, the Genesis, Wells Fargo. Really tough tracks. Really like fields I really wouldn't expect him to do crazy in. Then you look just before that. Pebble Beach 9th, Amex 14th, Sony 3rd, Century 15th, RSM 4th. All 5 birdie fest, 5 top 15s. You get him on a course where you're going to have to score, you're going to have to just a birdie fest type event. I didn't want to overthink it and be like, all right, he's lost his game. And he finished 9th here last year. So I mean, it's kind of a risky play, but he's sub 10%. But I feel like he's safe to
I
get
don't
through
know
the
if it is
cut.
that risky though.
I
You
I
kind of
hope so.
talked me into it there.
He's missed a few cuts. That's what people are getting off of him because he missed a cut at the Wells Fargo. Fine, horrible weather. Then 27th at the Masters, 5th at the match play, missed cut at API, Genesis, and Waste Management. Like, those aren't events I'd really think Seamus Power would do crazy. Maybe Waste Management, but besides that, it's been amazing, especially at these birdie fests. Like,
Yeah,
and it's sub 10%.
Third at the Sony. It's all easy courses where he's excelling.
Yeah, and I just had to decide between Leishman or Power in the core. I love them both like equally as well, and I think Leishman might have a little bit more upside because like you take the driving accuracy out of his hand and you get him a spot where he can fire at flags. He makes a ton of birdies when he's in the fairway, and he's gonna have looks this week. But I just feel like Power. You can go with either of them. I like them both a lot. But I went with Power in the core. I sprinkled some Leishman as well, but I think they're both very valid plays.
And Power's win last year at the Barbasol won at 21 under back in July. And then his most two recent top 5 finishes, Sony T3, RSM 4th. He was 19 under and 15 under.
Yeah, he can score.
Simple. So I guess this is the spot for him. I like it.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. I've been on Power the last few weeks actually, and it just hasn't worked out. But
yeah,
over the past year, actually looking at my model on easy courses, Power ranks 3rd. Over the last 2 years, he's 8th, and we know how the last 2 years have looked for him. I mean, it's really bad and really good, but he still plays well at these type of courses. So yeah, outside of that, 7K range. Who else did I have? Oh, Kitayama. I'm going to be very heavy on.
Okay.
He's going to be popular. I get that. I'm buying into that. I'm glad Kitayama has finally made it here because he was one of my favorite first-time PGA Tour card holders heading into this year and started off with like 4 or 5 straight missed cuts. Then he had the 3rd at the Honda, and now I'm just going to keep riding the wave. He had a T2 at Mexico, a T15 at the Wells Fargo last week where he was 2nd in the field in strokes gained approach to Johnny Vegas. So like I already kind of sold on that. It's like I'm looking at guys who finished outside the top 10 and were hot on approach. This is a type of course that Kitayama should do well at. The longer approach shots. He was one of the 5 guys on my list that I mentioned with Xander who did well in both of the longer buckets. So the 2nd in the field this season in strokes gained approach over 200 yards, 2nd to only Will Zalatoris. I'm all in on Kurt Kitayama at $7,400. I think the price is great.
Yeah, the price is great. The irons are stupid. I don't know. He's hitting his irons amazingly. He's proving that's the type of player he is. And we saw the thing that was holding him back was the driving accuracy. He couldn't hit a fairway, but you don't really need that here. Just go bombs away and hit a wide open fairway. Give him an iron and see if you can go low. I didn't get there with Kitayama, but like I definitely makes sense. He made great money for me at the Mexico Open, and that's a similar course. So maybe I should go back to him. But I went in this range. I went obviously Power and Leash as my like main guys, Power heavy. And then I sprinkled in the 2 other spots, the 2 other lineups. I put one guy in. I put Wolf and Keith Mitchell. Wolf, it's rare that Wolf gains in all 4 categories. And when he does, you got to pounce, in my opinion, because it's short-lived. And when he's hot, he's hot. So he's gonna have a leverage play. We know how high the ceiling is. Wouldn't put it in my core. Wouldn't advertise that it's a safe play. High upside, and that's what I want to go. I want to go safe for the core, high upside for the pivots. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll put Wolf in one of my pivots, and then Keith Mitchell missed the cut last week at the Wells Fargo, but simple. It's basically bombs away and make some birdies. I can get off Keith Mitchell. Like I can be sold off of him because like it's kind of bland. So I can definitely be sold off Keith Mitchell, especially if his ownership is too much. But I don't think it is.
With Wolf, though, it's like you said he gained in all 4 categories. He's still discounted. Like, we're not getting Matt Wolf at a bad price whatsoever. $7,200 after seeing some type of form, like that's literally all I needed. And to me,
Exactly.
TPC Craig Ranch is a whole lot better of a course than TPC Potomac was last week. Like we talked
Exactly.
about him finishing towards the bottom. That was definitely in the cards. Like that place did not set up for him at all. But seeing him, like some of the quotes and some of his interviews, it seems like he's in a different headspace.
Which
So
is
if
huge.
he can continue that and just let loose here,
Yeah.
I wouldn't put past Matthew Wolff winning this event, to be honest with you.
Yeah, after because I watched in person last week at Wells Fargo, I said to myself, Matthew Wolff is winning the Rocket Mortgage Classic, which is a course that driving accuracy is meaningless and he just bombs away and make birdies. I didn't realize that he was in this field until like Tuesday morning, and so I bet him 135-1 at 365, and I was gonna put him in the core, but it was a little bit risky. Obviously, it's risky with Wolff,
Always.
but you're gonna get leverage, and there's clear mega upside. So when we see him, it's been all red for Wolff. We're finally seeing some green, especially across the board. And when it's there, and it's there for a little bit, and it's gone. So you can't be, you got to. I feel like with Wolff, you see it, you got to go. Like you can't wait on it because it can go quick.
That's all we need. All we need is a little bit of green, and we're
yeah.
in,
So I went with Wolff a little bit.
Outside of that, 7K. I don't know if I'm getting to a whole lot more of these guys.
No, I got the normal.
Sean Norris is interesting, top 70 guy in the world, but I looked at like his Euro or DP World Tour stats and wasn't doing it for me. I tried to talk myself into him.
It's not worth it.
Couldn't do it. I've been there before. I love playing some of these top world guys in a PGA event, but it's just not really doing it. Only other guy, Carlos Ortiz, really popped for me in terms of like scoring on easier courses. You get a guy who's been in like the top 100 in the world and shown that he has win equity at 7K. Obviously, the form isn't there. I'd like it to be a little bit better, but when you get a guy like that at 7K, it's kind of the risk that you're taking on. So depending on your builds, I don't know how much deeper than 7K you need to get. I mean, there's a chance that Ortiz could be your last guy in if you start with like the Burns Xander type start that we mentioned and then drop down to your 8s or whatnot. I mean, you don't really have to get all that low, but Ortiz popped for me a little bit outside of that.
I was on Ortiz at the Mexico, and he didn't really do it for me. The form's not there. He should have done way better at that event, and he just didn't. He had like he barely
Which Ortiz
made. I think
were you on?
Both, but Carlos Ortiz, I was like in heavier than Alvaro. But yeah, Carlos Ortiz, like I think he made the cut like by 1 around the number, and then like he like didn't really do much on the weekend. So I'm gonna pass on Carlos this week. Form's just not there for me. But what about Haggy? There's upside for sure, but I talked to his brother, and he said that he hasn't played in a few weeks, and usually when he comes back, it's not good. So that got me off of it. But he's a TCU alum, Dallas area. I thought it would make sense, but I mean, I don't want to. If he said it's usually not good when he takes a few weeks off, I'll pass.
Unless he's just trying to undersell it.
And watch him win now.
Yeah. Had the lean the whole time. No, I don't mind the price by any means, but I don't know if this is the best spot for Haggy. I don't know. The only other guy that I forgot to mention, Bubba Watson, I think is in a pretty decent spot. Didn't look at his ownership. What are we looking at? Oh, my Lord.
What is it?
Sub 5. Sub 4.
Upside.
Longer course where you can be aggressive off the tee and go for it on 5s. Had a couple DP or a DP World Tour tourney earlier this year where he did pretty well. I mean, he's been decent off the tee. Outside of that, the approach hasn't been there, but looking at places where he's succeeded, it's been on these easy courses.
Yeah, you can. I'm not going to get there on Bubba, but I could see it for sure. It was at the Rocket Mortgage where he almost he was trending on the weekend. Yeah. Rocket Mortgage, which is a very similar course. Actually, now that you say that, did he show form before that or after that? Was the Travelers near win after that? Because I can totally sub in Bubba instead of Keith Mitchell. Like, I think Twitter just got me on Keith Mitchell.
It
That's
was
it.
Travelers T19 and then Rocket Mortgage 6th. All he's really shown this year is
this is Bubba's
T14
season
at Phoenix. It is.
So this is Bubba's. I'm on Bubba now. I'm on Bubba.
It's just a really good price.
Yeah. All right. Bubba is going in at Keith Mitchell instead of Keith Mitchell for the exact same price.
And it was the Saudi International on the DP World Tour earlier this year where Varner made that bomb putt to win. Bubba was solo second. And then he really hasn't played a whole lot this year. So he's not going to come up on your like recent models, on your long-term models, because like I said, all he's had is that T14 at the, what did I say, Farmers? No, Phoenix. So it just seemed like a Bubba spot for me, to be honest. These events where the scores get low, where you can hammer off the tee, go for it in $7,500. You can do worse.
Bubba is now in one of my lineups.
It's a 66th ranked golfer in the world. Hasn't even done anything.
I'll take it.
Hasn't even done anything. Anyone else you want to talk about in the 7 case?
No, that about does it for me.
Well, Mito coming back from injury. Should he be my Paul Casey of this week, where he just WDs and ruins my whole pool?
No, because if the winning score was -3, then Mito would win, but it's just not going to be that. So don't play Mito. Mito is difficult conditions.
Agree. So
he's literally Cameron Chingali, so that's when you're going to play him. Next week, maybe.
Yeah. Next week could be Mito.
Is he even in the? Is he even in? Yeah,
he is. Yeah. He is. I don't know how he got in exactly because.
Well, I think the PGA Championship's a little different than the other majors with the qualifications.
Yeah. So either way, he's in. I haven't looked. I haven't done a full deep dive on the pricing, but I would assume he's in the mid-6s if I had to guess. Anyways, let's jump down into the 6s. First guy that popped out to me was Hudson Swafford. Like, he popped out early, and he has kept popping for me. And $6,700, 200 plus yard approaches, very good. 225 to 250, very good. He's also with Kitayama and Xander, one of the 5 guys who showed in both low scoring events for Swafford. Had the win at the Amex earlier this season. I think at 6,700, this is a pretty good spot for him. Looking at some of his season ranks, top 20 in the field in birdie or better, top 20 in strokes gained approach in this field, which I was a little shocked by, and a guy who's pretty sneaky long off the tee.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely like that call. He can make a ton of birdies when he needs to. He's not gonna he can't get in trouble here, but that might have been his only downfall. But yeah, I definitely like that. Where I went in this range, and I talked about it last week on my Tuesday show, but just get ready because it is Hank Lebioda season. We are approaching it, and we are approaching it quick.
It's that time.
I said last week, I'm gonna give it one more week, see how he does at this Wells Fargo, and then I'm going to pounce. So last year we saw him miss 1 million cuts, then rattle off T13, T51, then like 5 straight T20s, including 3 top 10s. Now this time miss 1 million cuts, and then we have an 18th, a 29th, and a 41st in very difficult conditions. I'm going to jump on it early rather than late, and see if we can find if there's a trend, and he does it again, because what he did last summer around this time was insane. He almost won like 3 straight weeks, and he didn't get there. So I'm trying to get early on the Hank Lebioda train. He is in my core at 6,700. I had to go 2 6K guys because I went JT Burns and Chalky. So I went with Hank Lebioda as my first 6K guy. Heavy.
How do you feel about Steven Yeager? Because
he was there last week, right?
He was.
Yeah.
He was there last week. T6. Form scares
on Sunday.
Me
it was like a
Sunday
little
60,
bit. 66 or something like that.
Yeah. T15 at Mexico the week before, too. Like, this is still, for whatever reason, like, he was a PGA Tour card holder prior to this year, obviously, but lost it, and then was the #1 Korn Ferry Tour golfer heading into this year. So he gets in before basically everyone in the reshuffle, including Kitayama, not Cam Young anymore, but Buckley, all these quote unquote rookies. But like, Yeager, when he was stuck on the Corn Ferry for 2 straight years, I think he had 3 or 4, I think 3 total wins, like in a bunch of seconds, was on fire, got his tour card, and just really struggled. I mean, he lost strokes off the tee in almost 10 straight events, finally gained last week at the Wells Fargo. Even Mexico he lost, but looking at his past 2 events, he's ranks inside the top 8 in par 5 scoring and eagles gained. He's top 15 in the field in birdie or better and approach. So obviously a small sample size looking at the last 2 events for Steven Yeager, but seeing him trend in the right direction. $6,900 isn't ideal. The form scares me a little bit because I don't know how much longer he can keep this up, but we've seen crazier things happen. So I do like Yeager, maybe more of like a top 40, top 30 bet.
If he was
throw.
If
I don't think he's going to finish top 15 again.
If he was like $100 or $200 cheaper, I probably would be able to get him. But
agree,
69 is tough for me. But I didn't even think of that. I like that case that you made for him. All right, the second guy I went to him, and you know how I feel about this guy. Went to him in my core. I needed 2 6K guys, and I've given an anti case for him many times with you. Austin Smotherman. I was big on Austin Smotherman early. He helped me cash a big lineup at Pebble Beach, and then after that, people started to figure out who he was. And I was always saying, "Don't play Austin Smotherman at chalk. Don't play Austin Smotherman as chalk. As chalk as a 6K guy can get," is what I meant. And he wasn't paying off at all. But we've seen recently. He finished 25th last week, made the cut at the Mexico, and made the cut at Valero. So he didn't have the greatest finishes, but he finished 25th last week, which is huge in difficult conditions. Now he's home. He went to college at SMU in Dallas. He's played this course before, and the shine's starting to wear off, which is what's key for me more than anything. He's flying a little bit under the radar after he's been one of the chalkier, low-priced guys the past few weeks, or the month before last, and now the shine's starting to wear off. So when that happens, I'm going to bite on Smotherman and throw in the hometown narratives, throw in the ruined impression, the Chambro narrative, throw in the ball striker. I love it. So I'm going Austin Smotherman as my final core play.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. You can't talk me out of Smotherman looking at his season stats. I mean, he's where is he? Top 10 in the field in ball striking, top 10 in the field in procs from 200 plus. So, easy. I mean, that alone, you're getting him at $6,600. So if he misses the cut, okay. But, I mean, you give yourself a legit chance. One of the younger rookies on tour this year. Speaking of younger rookies on tour this year, wrote him up in my FanDuel. I'm back on Buckley.
Okay.
I got to be. I tweeted out earlier this year. Looking at some of his high-end finishes, he was T4 at Sanderson in the fall, followed it up with a T8 at Shriners Children's Open, and then this year a T12 at Sony. Average winning score in those 3 events was 23 under. Also had another top 15 or top 20 this year where the winning score was 17 under, I think Corrales. So not to that extent, but seeing him produce at courses like that, I mean, that's enough for me down in this range to get to him. I saw this guy at 63. I'm going to move on from Buckley. Sorry. Guy at 6,300 who I saw on your betting card, Paul Barjon.
TCU like Horned Frog. 500 to 1.
I like him a lot. Those are my 2 guys. If I'm getting to 63, who
the stats are like, they make semi-sense. I mean, the form is what it is, but the numbers make sense. That's all you need. And 500 to 1, okay, yeah, I'll throw $4 on that. It was a no-brainer. Especially, and then he went to school in the Dallas area. Another thing that made it he's not gonna win, but okay, I'll bet it.
Yeah, I mean, he's been gaining strokes on approach like crazy. 1.5 strokes in his last 4 measured rounds. Struggles have come around the green, which, like we've said, not really an issue here. I looked at his T51 last week at the Wells Fargo. He was 11th in strokes gained off the tee, 10th in driving distance gained. And speaking of driving distance, he's inside the top 35 on the PGA Tour this year. So a guy who could bomb it off the tee for $6,300, Matt. It's
look, I didn't have him in a lineup, but I'm putting him in a lineup. I just bet him. But
Oh,
want to know why?
I thought you would have had him in a lineup or two.
I didn't. I didn't because one, he didn't make the core, but he easily could have been a pivot. But I'm looking at my 6K pivots. One of them was Charlie Hoffman, so that he's gone now. He's gone.
That's fair.
Barjon will be that final pivot. I'll list off my other 6K pivots. For like the off of the Smotherman, off of the Lebiota. I won't even like dive too deep into them. I'll just list them off. Guys I think could make the cut, and make the cut is what you want. So James Hahn, he finished in the top 5 here at this Corn Ferry event, and he obviously was in the mix last week. Easy. Dylan Wu made the cut in difficult conditions last week. He is more of a low scoring type guy, and I'm impressed that he even made the cut last week. He finished like I think last of the guys who did make the cut though. Doc Redmond finished 9th here last year, mega upside. Bo Hostler, very ugly. I don't know what happened to him. You can tell me to get rid of him, honestly, because I don't know what happened to him, but he's been trending at these easy courses. But honestly, he sucks at golf. I should get him out. And then Harry Higgs, upside. He also is an SMU guy. So I had to have the Austin Smotherman, Harry Higgs lineup because they played college golf together. But besides that, Harry Higgs is like a difficult conditions guy now. Like he makes a cut and performs well at the Masters and finishes 3rd at Kiwa. So I don't know if he has the birdies in him, but he's just a Dallas guy, and that's why I put him in my as one of my pivots. Sometimes you got to go with the narrative rather than the sexy numbers in this range.
You do. I mean, there's not a whole lot. That's why they're down here, obviously. Like Yeager has 2 decent events, and he goes from 61, 6,200 up to 69. So it's like you don't need much to talk me into some of these guys here, and sometimes it's not even form related. But
no, you talked me into 3 guys. You talked me into 3 guys, which is I'm pretty happy about because I was a little bit iffy on a few.
It's good to talk through these things because you
can
talk yourself. Yeah, you can sit there and make lineups and talk yourself out of 1,000 guys. So just hearing someone else's perspective, a little tidbits that we have thrown in there. I mean, it's enough. So let's go back through and do our top 2 from each range. 10K is going to be tough for me, but I'm going to go JT1, Spieth 2.
All right, I'll go JT DJ.
And then 9K, Xander is going to be my first guy in. Second, I'm probably going to say Hideki slightly over Burns.
All right, I'll go Burnsy and Wacko.
All right. And then the 8K range, a range that I think we're both pretty excited about. I'm going to go Vegas 1, Wise 2.
All right, I'll go Gooch in Vegas.
And then 7K, Kitayama's my one here. I'm all in on Kitayama. And my second one, you actually talked me into
Power.
I'm going to go Power 2.
Power's my one. I love him. And then Mark Leishman 2. Or actually, I like Leishman. I think Leishman has more upside. I'll go Leishman Power.
Okay. And then the 6K range, I'm going to go Yeager 1, Swafford 2.
Lebiota and Smotherman.
All right. So next week, fantasy points, people. Projections are starting. We're slowly starting to get all of the tools, all of the models, the whatever you want to call it. We're going to start getting some projections to look at. Also going to have some ownership projections. Should be on the site every Wednesday morning, I would say. But it's going to be something to look at. Me and Matt have been looking at these projections, kind of tweaking them a little bit over the weeks, kind of behind the scenes. They absolutely smashed the Jordan Spieth win. Can't tell you who they're on this week exactly, but next week you will see it. There will be a way to get a part of this. Matt's going to be excited.
Yeah, I mean, first look, I had no words. My jaw kind of dropped. If you're an info guy, if you like looking at numbers, it is impressive to say the least. Like you're going to be able to do a lot of stuff with it. You're going to be able to mess around with it. I can't wait to start using it more because the first few looks we've had, it's been pretty cool. And starting next week, which is very exciting.
And it's not your typical projection. You're not going to see
it's very
all
different.
the 9, 10K guys towards the top. I mean, they hate some of the 10K guys. They have some of their guys who they're going to rate out well for a couple weeks, but it's worth looking at. You can see the value on DraftKings compared to FanDuel, sort by pricing, tee time. There's going to be a lot of stuff displayed on some of these, so make sure to check back and check into the Fantasy Points Twitter, the Fantasy Points PGA Twitter. A lot going on. It's going to be exciting. I already have great content, great shows all week long, so just adding that on top of it makes the package that much more valuable.
Yep. And before we log off, you want to get our bet in for the week?
I do.
All right.
And it's my week, so I'm going to have to figure something out here. Let me see.
For the people keeping score, it's 2-0 me.
2-0.
And we tied last week. I know. 2-0
I need my tie.
2-0 and 1. Okay. It's 2-0.
Let's do this.
You pick the strategy.
God, I like going low sixes, to be honest.
Yeah, it's fun.
We'll do a 2-man.
2-man
draft.
Okay.
Under 62.
Okay. All right.
So I'll give you a little bit of time to kind of look through it, because I don't think either of us picked anyone under 62. No, I don't think we did. So, Matt, I'll let you pick. Do you want the first or second?
I'll go second.
Second and third it would be.
Right, yes.
So that's massive getting the next two guys in this range, right?
Well, you asked me.
I know. All right. So, first pick, 62 and below, I'm going to go Michael Gligic.
Okay. My two picks are 1, Kevin Tway.
Okay.
And 2, the greatest 175-yard player in golf history, Scott Kucheski.
I actually have a guy who I wrote up at 62, and forgot about, and should have taken him first, but Brandon Haggy.
Okay, yeah.
Before we log off, let me sell you on Haggy real quick.
Okay, yeah. I'll hear it.
Last week in 36 holes in his missed cut, you know how many birdies Haggy had?
How many?
13.
That's playing golf.
Homa had 18 and an eagle in double the events. Obviously, 13 bogeys and a double for Haggy, but ranks this season inside the field, 5th in driving distance. We know that he has power off the tee, 21st in par 5 scoring. Should have taken Haggy first. That's on me. He'll probably miss the cut anyways. But when I saw that he had 13, I think he was top 5 in the field in birdie or better gained. And I was like, how did he miss the cut? His card, if you get a chance tonight, go look at it. There's a mark on almost every single hole.
That's funny.
Which is what we kind of want at TPC Craig Ranch.
Yeah.
To a point. Yeah. To a point. You don't want the bogeys, but I don't know how many chances you're going to get for a bogey. So
exactly. All right. I like that. So you got
Scott Kucheski and Kevin Tway versus Michael Gligic and Brandon Haggy. Thank you all for joining the Final Points. Good luck this week. We'll be back next week for the second major of the year. About time, the PGA Championship. Majors are going to start firing off. Got the projections coming on the Fantasy Points website, so we'll have a little bit more to talk about next week. But good luck this week. And Matt, let's go.
One more week. Let's go. Good luck this week.